afternoon. Let's get into the markets now. Asian stocks wavered on Wednesday while the price of safe haven gold continued to remain elevated as investors exercise caution. This as market players await clarity on President Donald Trump's tariff plans. There are concerns around the impacts of so-called reciprocal tariffs being levied on the US's trading partners and what that will mean for the global economy, more so given that there are current concerns about the direction of the US economy. The Nikkei share average rose by 0.3%. The Hang Seng Index ended the session down 0.02%, while the Shanghai Composite Index was also flattish at closing up by 0.05%. US stocks mainly closed higher in yesterday's trade, but despite the slight recovery, concerns remain about the economic impact of the additional Trump tariffs that are set to take effect from today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average declined by 0.03%. The S&P 500 rose by 0.4%, while the Nasdaq Composite Index gained 0.87%. Right, taking a look at our local indicators, we see that the all-share index is currently trading in negative territory, down 0.2% at 89,772 index points. The rand is trading at 18.62 against the US dollar, 20.11 vis-a-vis the euro, and 24.08 against the British pound. In terms of our commodities, we see that gold is trading at $3,129 an ounce, still staying quite firm. Platinum at $984 an ounce, while Brent crude oil is trading at $74.37 a barrel. Well, for more on the markets, I'm joined now by Mabianine Piri. He's from EBC Financial Group. Thank you so much, Mabianine, for joining us. So we saw that last night the US markets actually rose, but everyone is incredibly worried about what President Trump is going to announce in terms of tariffs, because even up to this day, where the tariffs are supposed to take effect, there hasn't been clarity about what's what. So why are we seeing markets going up? Is it because, there's been such a sell-off that people are trying to pick up bargains? Right.
So the US stock markets edged higher yesterday. The S&P, as you mentioned, was up about 0.4%, and the Nasdaq about 0.9%. This is despite tariff uncertainty, like you've mentioned, with investors betting that the new tariffs wouldn't be as bad as expected. Some investors even saw this as a buying opportunity, believing that certain sectors could hold up well, even with the tariffs in place.
So what about in terms of South Africa? We haven't really heard anything specific to us, but we are quite a large motor exporter to the United States, and we get the benefit under the AGOA deal. Presumably this is going to affect us in one way or another. How concerned are you around that?
Correct. So a 20% to 25% tariff on imported vehicles from the US is a huge problem for the South African economy. A big chunk of our vehicles exports go to the US. So this could actually mean lower export numbers, job losses, and a weaker GDP contribution from these sectors. The real question is whether the South African government will get an exemption, under the African Growth and Opportunity Act. That could soften the blow a little for us.
Yeah, well, we wait and see if that's going to happen. Of course, here at home, very importantly, we have this budget vote that's taking place. I understand at around 2 o'clock. There's been so many different stories coming out about the removal of VAT, the ANC talking to Action SA, maybe getting support from there, and so on and so forth. We really don't know what the outcome is going to be. But regardless, if this thing doesn't go through, what are the implications for the local currency, which hasn't exactly been moving in the right direction as it is?
Correct. The rand is already feeling the heat. It fell about 0.2% yesterday, trading at 18.36 to the dollar, and today it's hovering around 18.60. Again, depending on the final outcome of the budget negotiations, we can expect more investor anxiety, which could push the rand even lower. That is definitely bad news for borrowing costs. It could scare off foreign investment at a time when the country can't really afford it.
Yeah. And then what was your reaction to SARS announcing its tax revenue collection yesterday for the fiscal year 2024-2025, coming out with a number of 1.8, let's call it 1.856 trillion rand. It beat expectations in terms of what the finance minister had expected in his March budget. But of course, regardless of what we may think about the number, the ultimate thing is that we do need more economic growth, which would then mean more money for the fiscal coffers.
Right. SARS, like you've mentioned, bumped up its revenue estimation for the 2024-2025 fiscal year to about 1.846 trillion rand, a small but positive adjustment. That said, South Africa needs real economic growth because higher taxes alone won't solve the country's financial struggles. Without growth, the tax base remains very small, making it hard to fund big projects and essential services.
So in the meantime, with all the uncertainty both globally and locally, when you look at the local stock market, where do you see possible opportunities, possible buys in terms of sector or specific single stocks, that you think look attractive for long-term growth?
Yeah, so markets are bouncing between optimism and uncertainty. But for South Africa, the real challenge is tariffs, the budget and long-term economic planning. An interesting sector, of course, being companies that are operating within the gold sector, because we've seen the rally in gold doesn't seem to stop. Hitting new highs, every week. So I would really have a look at that sector when it comes to investments.
All right. Thank you so much, Mabianine, for your time. That was Mabianine Phiri. He's from EBC Financial Group Africa. And of course, he's been giving us his perspective on the local markets.